Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with Hobbies Man once again, and today we're going to be doing a wrap up for the month of October. Today we're going to be looking at what I watched, what I read, and then what I read is going to be split up into comic books, novels, and manga, the same as always. And yeah, feel free to jump to the section you're interested in. If you're not interested in anything, I'll see you guys in my TBR video next tomorrow, not next day, tomorrow, or I'll see you guys in my next video, whatever that may be. So yeah, let's start with what I've been watching. It's been quite a bit actually. I didn't end up reading as much as I wanted to this month because I feel like I ended up watching TV a lot more. So I don't know, it's interesting. I watched a lot of Andor. I watched episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8, which I think is everything that came out this month. And I really enjoyed it. I did reviews for it already, so there really isn't too much more that I can really say. But I do find that the methodical approach to Andor is a lot more satisfying to me than the kind of gung-ho, just kind of like, oh, look, it's cool kind of approach that seems to have been the case for Book of Boba Fett and Kenobi. I don't really want to get into it too much, but Boba Fett kind of was sold one way and it didn't manage to achieve those selling points. Like, it was supposed to be this kind of gangster series. That's what the promotional material was telling us. That's what they told us the promotional material was telling us. And it didn't really live up to that. It was more of a, like, found family that got killed kind of thing. And then out for revenge. But he was also stupid. I don't like that. And the Kenobi show really should have been an introspective kind of, like, spiritual kind of thing. And it was just kind of like, go save the princess twice. and fight Darth Vader once so that you can kind of feel like you did something important, right? So I do think that Andor, although it's a lot slower, it's actually not boring like a lot of people think it is. It is just a lot more methodical than we're really used to for Star Wars, and I think that's a really good change. I really like that. So yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes. Then I watched Werewolf by Night, which is a really good little special. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. I did a review for it as well. Overall, I thought it was really, really enjoyable. I really want more specials to show up and to be part of the MCU machine, I guess. And I watched Bastard, episodes 14 to 24. The second half of the series was a lot less enjoyable than the first half. I do think this is because the final fight was a little bit too long, in my opinion. It did feel kind of annoying that it was just keep going and going and going because Abigail, the bad guy in the big fight at the end of the season, just didn't die. And it was really kind of, it almost felt kind of like JoJo-esque in a really annoying way, and I didn't really like that. So, yeah, Bastard, the first half is much better. The first 2/3 are really, really great. The last kind of third of the story is just kind of annoying because it just keeps on going. And I don't know if this is exactly the case in the manga. I don't know, so I really can't say too much about it. But I would really like to see this manga in print in English. I would like that a lot, actually. Then Blue Lock 1 through 4. I'm actually halfway through episode 4 right now. I was watching it before I started recording. And I have mixed feelings on Blue Lock. On one hand, I really like the source material. I like the manga a lot. And I think that the anime is doing an okay job at adapting it. There's nothing egregiously wrong with the animation or the storytelling beats or anything like that. But there's this certain level of like hype that you feel reading the manga that I feel isn't being captured by the anime. And this is really concerning because the anime has way more tools to make you feel hyped, like fluidity of motion, animation, color, and music. And I don't feel like specifically the music and color are being used effectively to provide this hypeness, because by the end of the third volume, I was really, really invested in Blue Lock. Actually, honestly, even by the end of the first volume, which has already more or less been covered by the anime, I was really hooked because there was this epic feel of like angst and I don't know, like hype that you felt in the manga, and I feel like the anime isn't capturing that. And I think that in the long run, that's going to be bad, because if you're not really creating these hype moments in the anime, you're not really doing the job of an anime, which is to sell merchandise and to sell the manga. And I think that it's going to really end up being just a pretty average, middle-of-the-road anime for a sports series. And I think that that's not great. And it's not really living up to the potential that Blue Lock has as a manga. So it is what it is. It's just how it goes. I watched one episode of Sandman as well. I watched actually 2 episodes, 9 and 10. I still haven't watched the bonus episode. Probably won't get around to it. I don't know. It's not really that big of a deal. I like Sandman, but I don't really love it. It was mostly just a fun activity to do with my roommates. So it is what it is. It's just how it goes. Then I watched the rest of House of the Dragon, episodes 7 through 10. That was about 4 episodes, right? 4 or 5 episodes, I think. And it was a really great show. I already did a review for it, and I love it so much. It's a great show. It's a little bit different from Game of Thrones, but it does still manage to have that like vibe, that feel, that Game of Thrones, like, what's it called? Like, I don't know, je ne sais quoi, like that kind of like feeling of like, yes, this is awesome, and it's gritty and it's dark and it sucks, but it's really enjoyable to watch, right? I also just really like the very small scale look at this family dynamic and how it just like tearing itself apart. I think that's interesting. Then I watched this Indian movie. I don't know if it's Bollywood. I think it's a Telugu movie called Lal Sinchada, who is basically a Forrest Gump copy. It's literally actually exactly the same as Forrest Gump, but some things are changed, and it's about 20 minutes longer for various reasons. Some things were like stretched out. Some things were what's it called had music added to them in a way, and it was really good. I actually liked it a lot. I thought it was really fun. I've only ever watched half of Forrest Gump, so watching this Indian version of it was really interesting, and I liked it a lot. I thought the movie had a lot of heart to it. I think that people didn't like it, and I'm not really sure why that is. I don't really have the context of like how it affected Indian people to see this movie, because there are references to war, and I do think that there's this conflict between Sikhs and Muslims and the traditional Hindi practitioners in the movie, and so I don't know if that caused social stress, but as someone that doesn't really have to deal with that, I found the movie to be really interesting, really enjoyable. It had a lot of heart to it, and I liked it a lot. I thought it was really well done. So yeah, then I watched the John Carter movie, which should have been John Carter of Mars, but they didn't put that important part at the end. And I really liked this movie. I thought it was a really good movie. I had forgotten how good it was. I thought that I just remembered it being good because I was a 12-year-old boy when I watched it. No, it's just actually a really good movie. It's not really exactly the same as The Princess of Mars, the book that it's based on, but it is close enough. And there are a lot of things in it that kind of streamlined it to make it be a better setup for the larger kind of like movie world that was going to come out of it, but it didn't end up happening for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of like vaguely conspiratorial kind of theories about the fact that John Carter of Mars was forcibly tanked by Disney in order to kill its momentum so that they could focus on Star Wars. And it might be true. I mean, Star Wars and John Carter do have the same kind of traditional like background. Like John Carter of Mars influenced Buck Rogers, which then influenced George Lucas. So they do come from the same lineage of sci fantasy. And it makes sense that you don't really necessarily want to have two competing IPs at the same time. I mean, it makes sense in like a dumb way, but I feel like they should have just made it better and made two awesome, consistent IPs instead of just one. But I don't know, that's just me. But yeah, this movie's great. If you guys have a Disney Plus subscription, I definitely recommend you guys watch it. It's really good. Very enjoyable. Then I watched Dracula Untold. This is a shitty Dracula movie, but it's one that I watched in theaters with some friends a long time ago, and it has like a special place in my heart. It's a schlocky, stupid medieval fantasy series, and I like it a lot. I think it's really cool. It's also interesting that the bad guys are Turkish people. I don't know why that's interesting to me. I knew a lot of Turkish people growing up. I went to a school that had a lot of Turkish people in it, and it's just kind of interesting to see like people that I have like a certain image about be completely different. And I found that to be kind of fun and interesting. So I really like Dracula Untold a lot. It's a dumb movie, but it's a good one, and I liked it a lot, and I really enjoyed it. Then I watched the first half of America, the Motion Picture, which is this like Adult Swim animated movie that's freaking ridiculous. Like George Washington turns into like Chainsaw Man for a bit, and it's really fun. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any like sense at all, but it's like funny, and it's really irreverent, and I kind of like that. And it's really, really ridiculous. It kind of feels like you grabbed all of the most important historical figures in American history, you tossed them into a hat, and you pulled out a bunch of different ones, and then you decided to make like some sort of crazy D&D campaign about them and just make them all like dude bros. And it's really, really funny and ridiculous, and it's really enjoyable. So yeah, then I watched Black Adam in the movie theater, and it was awesome. It was so cool. There's definitely problems with the movie. There's the kid actor is supposed to be the emotional heart of the movie, and he's a really bad actor, or like he's very monotone. So it definitely has issues. But the action scenes and the cool dynamic between all the action hero characters was awesome. And there was this kind of like 90s action movie feel to it that I really, really enjoyed. And the music was the best part. It was so good. I've been listening to it on Spotify, and it's such a good, OST, such a good soundtrack. It's such enjoyable movie. I really want to go watch it again, but I don't really want to. I do want to go watch it, but I don't have money to do so. And honestly, I do think that next month I'll probably end up watching Film Red a few times. I already have tickets separated for me and one of my buddies for the 6th of November, and the weekend after that I'll probably go watch it, because with him I'm watching it in Japanese, and so the next time I go watch it by myself, I'll watch it in English, just to be able to enjoy it a little bit more, because I like dub a lot more than sub, just because it's easier. But yeah, so I don't really think I'll get around to watching Black Adam again in the movie theater, but I definitely will watch it when it comes out on HBO Max. So yeah, then the last thing I watched this month was Tales of the Jedi, which was a really good series. I did a review for it, and yeah, I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I really like the Dooku part a lot more than the Ahsoka parts, although the Ahsoka parts are like special to me because Ahsoka is a character that I grew up with, that I really love, and it's really interesting to have seen her grow up and then become this kind of like different, crazy, like super significant character later on. And overall, I just love the Clone Wars art style, and having it continue to be relevant is really, really great. I hope that they keep that style and make it synonymous with Star Wars, so that every Star Wars animated project is in that style, in that vibe, because I think it's probably one of the best, and it feels so good to watch it and to see it. So yeah, if they do High Republic, I really want it to be in a style very similar to that. I didn't really like Rebels, and I don't like Resistance, and Visions is good, but Visions is like clearly not Western, and obviously because it's anime. So I think it's a different vibe, right? But I really like the Clone Wars animation style for American Star Wars, right? So I would like that to keep going. So yeah, other than that, I've been watching Willow. I haven't finished it, and the reason why I'm watching it is because I know that the new series is going to come out soon, and I want to watch it. I think I watched the first 40 minutes of it. I think it's cute. It's kind of wholesome and this very cute like fantasy story, but it's also kind of really slow. So I haven't really managed to finish watching it, but I will eventually. So yeah, that's it for what I've been watching. Let's turn to what I've been reading, and let's start with the novels. So I didn't read 3 of them, so I'll just tell you what I didn't read, and then I'll show you what I did read, right? So I have not finished reading Second Chance Swordsman, although I did start it. I'm about 15% into the book, and overall it's enjoyable. It's a pretty standard cultivation isekai-esque type series. It's not isekai, it's actually a reincarnation story. So the character gets sent back in time to his earlier body. He gets reincarnated into his own body, and he starts to cultivate his powers earlier on. So if you like things like pick up girls in a dungeon, danmachi, or if you like things like basically any video game-esque isekai, you will probably like Second Chance Swordsman. So I definitely recommend you guys check it out. It's pretty good. I have not picked up Our World's Magic #2 at all. I have not gotten around to reading it, so I will start it next month. And also the same thing with Lord of Goblins. I was going to review it this month, but I got sidetracked with other things, and I didn't really end up reading all of my TBR, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So yeah, the 2 novels that I did finish reading though are Tarzan of the Apes, book 1 in the Tarzan series. There's 24 books total, which is really, really good. Like, I had not expected it to be as awesome and interesting as it is. Of course, there are some issues there, mostly to do with the fact that this was written over 100 years ago, and so some of the vernacular and some of the ways that some characters are treated because of their skin tone or because of their beliefs or whatever is kind of a little bit concerning, but it is not really as egregious as you would think. It is just a little bit, noticeable sometimes, and you just kind of have to move past it a bit, right? So it is what it is. It's not really problematic, but it is from a different time period, and so some people might perceive it that way, but it's such a good story. It's so interesting and classic, and it's really one of the American, like, pop culture icons, right? Tarzan is well known all over the place, and it's so good. So yeah. And then the other one was Hexed, which is a urban fantasy series. It follows this druid guy that lives in Arizona, and in this one he fights a evil coven of Nazi witches, and it's really fun. It's actually really, really enjoyable. There's definitely some ways of writing in this book that definitely make this a guy's book, like a men's adventure story, but not really. It's just more like male oriented. The way that the character expresses some things definitely feels like a dude wrote it, and some people might have issues with that. I don't really, because it is what it is, man. It's just how it goes. But some people might have issues with it, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Overall, it's a really fun story. If you like the Dresden Files, or if you like any sort of, urban fantasy TV show, like, what was it, Lost Girl, or, what's it called, the CW shows, Supernatural, and the vampire ones in CW, I forgot what they're called, the originals, that one's the one I like, and the other one is the Vampire Diaries. If you like stuff like that, you'll probably like this, so yeah, check it out. Then moving on to comic books. In terms of what I had on my TBR, the only one I read was Middle West. Let me pull that up here. Middle West, Volume 1. I really liked it. I did a review for it. I think it's really, really good, really enjoyable. I love the art style, and I think that Scotty Young is a really good writer. He does have a new series coming out soon in paperback called Twig, and I will definitely try my best to check it out because it looks really fun. It looks to be some sort of like little alien adventure with non-human characters, and I think that's really exciting. So I'll definitely get around to checking that out next month when it comes out. And Middle West was really good. Definitely recommend you guys watch the review and then check out the series. Then I didn't read Dark One because I just didn't get around to it, and I didn't read Shadow Service, and I do think that I'm leaving Shadow Service in the TBR pile for now, and I'll probably have Dark One in my reading schedule for next month because I do really want to check it out. And the other thing that I read this month that was on my list but was not supposed to be my TBR because it was supposed to be an alternative title was actually the Red Sonja comic books. This Mirka Andolfo run, let me show you the volumes that I have, or the issues that I have. It's a 12-issue series. I have almost all of them. I have 1, 2, 3. Let me do this differently. 4. I don't have 5 because I couldn't buy it. There's 6. There's 7. I don't have 8, so this is 9. That's 10, I think. 11, and this should be 12, yeah. There we go, we're back to number 1. So, it's an alright story. It's not my favorite Red Sonja story that I've read, but it's not the worst one I've read either. I mostly picked it up because I like Mirka Andolfo as an artist in general. I like her more as someone that draws over someone that writes, but I do think that she does a good enough writing job. So mostly I was just supporting her as an individual, or like her as an author that I like, because yeah, her as an author. I don't really care about authors as individuals. I think it's like there's a very huge degree of separation there that it doesn't really make too much sense for me to care of them as individuals. But I like her as an artist, and I wanted to support her as an artist, and I like Red Sonja, so I kept buying that. However, it was not the best, but it wasn't that bad either. If you like Lone Wolf and Cub type stories, you'll probably enjoy that Red Sonja run. So yeah, other than that, I have a bunch of single issue comic books that I picked up this month that I read. So Gun Honey number 2, really good stuff. I love this series. Red Sonja, or Unbreakable Red Sonja. This is a new Red Sonja run, and it looks really good. I love these Lucio Parrilla covers a lot. And Onyx, which is a pretty good story. It's a single collected edition, one-shot issue, I guess it is what you would call it. It's $9, and basically it deals with this alien who has these special like plasma powers, and she comes down to Earth because there's this parasitic alien that's coming down to try to eradicate life on Earth, and she's trying to stop it because it eradicated her own planet's life. And what happens is that while she's trying to help us, we also run into this military subplot that is against her, and then they join forces with the aliens, and Onyx has to join forces with the other military people that are not in on that ploy, and so it's really, really interesting. So yeah, then we have Hitomi. I'll probably give this another another issue, but it wasn't that great. It does remind me of Gekiga manga from the olden days, like Lady Snowblood and Lone Wolf and Cub and stuff like that. So if you like that stuff, you should check it out. Then we have At Least We Can Do number 2. Really good stuff. I like this a lot. I like the art style a lot too. And then we have Rogue Sun number 7. Dead Lucky. There really isn't too much to say about these in the middle of the story. This one was kind of interesting because it had this weird like choose your own adventure kind of plot to it, which was fun. And Dead Lucky number 3 is when stuff is starting to ramp up, and we get to see a little bit of a power up for the main character. I forgot her name. That sucks. What's her name? I don't know. Doesn't matter, I guess. Yeah, Siren's Gate. I hated this book. I was really excited. I like the artist because he does really good pin-up comic book covers, but his art style doesn't, translate to interior artwork. It just looks really ugly, in my opinion. Like, I don't know if you guys can see it. And it's so dark, and it's like rendered in a really weird way to probably avoid the fact that he doesn't want to, make his art style a little bit more precise or something like that. I don't know. The vibe of the art style just doesn't work for me. And the way that the text bubbles are set up is ugly as fuck, man. It just looks disgusting. Like, it's just so bad, man. Like, oh my god, who made all of these choices? Dynamite really let me down with this one, and I'm definitely going to get rid of it as soon as I can. I bought this, but I didn't read it, so I don't know why it's in here. It goes over there. The Titans United Blood Pact. This is part 2. There's this kind of mental situation where no one is really aware of what's going on, and things are happening in a way that doesn't make sense. People were erased from history, and stuff really is weird and wild, but at the end, it kind of resolves itself a little bit as it goes into the next plot point. So, good stuff there. We have Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night. This is the annual, and it was really, really good. I like this a lot. I thought it was a really good book. I really like this story. And then we have the other Moon Knight thing that came out this month, which is Moon Knight number 16. And this one was all right. I don't really care too much about the vampire plot line. I like the werewolf one a little bit more, but it is what it is. I'll probably continue to read it, at least until this arc finishes. Then we have Vanish number 2. Good stuff here. This is more of a transitionary chapter. The main character is trying to figure out what to do with his life. And the people that he hurt at the end of the first volume, or the first issue, are kind of rallying their forces to see what they are going to do. We have Eternal Descent. I like this one. I think the story is good. Michael Morrissey does a good job. But the art style, or more specifically, I think the coloring, doesn't really work for me. So I'm not going to keep this. I'm probably going to stop collecting it. And I'll probably end up giving it to one of my buddies for Christmas. So yeah, then we have Barbaric number 3. Really good stuff. This is the end of this volume, and I'm kind of sad about that. I'll do a review for it soon, but I'm really excited for next year because there's going to be Barbaric galore. It's going to be really, really crazy. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff. So yeah, then we have Death Dealer number 4. This is the end of the first volume's arc. Then we have Death Dealer number 5. This is a short story. This one deals with a sea goddess or a sea witch. And then we have Death Dealer number 6. This one deals with the witch character from the first volume going to battle another wizard who apparently talks like the dude from the Big Lebowski. So yeah, really fun stuff. I really like this, and Diego Yapur does a really great job with the artwork in this one. It just looks really, really awesome. Wait, there we go. Yeah, and I think that's it. Yeah. So that's it for the comic books. So let's keep talking about the manga. So let's start with all the digital stuff that I read first, which is Bleach. Bleach was the biggest thing that I read this month. Digitally, I read like 200 chapters of Bleach, basically, which actually bit into a lot of my reading time. However, it was definitely within the theme, so it's all good. I am perfectly fine with that. So I recorded reviews for this, and I did it in 3 separate parts. Even though Soul Society is only one saga or one arc, it can be divided into 3 separate storylines, which are the Agent of the Shinigami arc, then the sneak entry, and then the actual rescue part of the story. And I really, really enjoy Bleach a lot. I think it has a lot of style. It does lack a bit of substance, and I do think that it's not necessarily that the author isn't trying to make something substantive. It's just that the way he does it doesn't really appeal to me personally, and so as a surface level reader, I'm not really picking up on it or enjoying those things. Also, I think a lot of it has to do with like things that happen in the volumes and the collected editions, and I read it digitally. I read it on the Shonen Jump app, where you don't really get any of those extras. Or any of those little like poems at the beginning of the book and stuff like that. So I didn't really get to experience them, and I don't really find them to be all that meaningful either. However, Bleach, out of the big 3, I think is the most enjoyable as a surface level reader. At least in these early parts. And not necessarily in the first 200 chapters, but in the first 100 or so chapters. I do think that it has a lot of stuff going for it. Because if you compare it to the other 2 big 3, Naruto doesn't really have too much going for it early on. It doesn't really get good until Konoha Crush, right? And you know the tuning exams are good, but it takes kind of a while for them to get good. And the Sabusa stuff is very iconic, but again, it doesn't really have too much going for it. And a lot of the time spent in Naruto in the early chapters is about developing this world, right? Which Bleach doesn't really have to do until the second half of the Soul Society arc, because most of it ends up being an urban fantasy in our world with some slight superpowers added in, you know, on top, right? And the same thing can be said for One Piece. One Piece has to spend a lot of time developing its world building, and also the first 100 chapters of One Piece are more or less a prologue to the story, whereas the first 100 chapters of Bleach are the story. And the same thing with Naruto, right? So the differences in how they're structured and what they're trying to do and how they have to achieve what they have to achieve makes Bleach an easier, more enjoyable, straight up read. If you want to get people into manga using the big 3, which I don't recommend at all, because the big 3 are too much of a time sink and a money sink. It's just such a big endeavor that most adults don't really have time to do. I definitely recommend Bleach out of the 3. If you really want to recommend a big 3 manga for them, I do think that Bleach is good. I think it's even actually better than Dragon Ball as a beginner manga, because Dragon Ball does go into these gag manga elements, and it has a lot of raunchy sexual jokes in the early beginnings of the series, like Bulma flashing Roshi and stuff like that. That makes it very unappealing to beginners, right? But Bleach doesn't really have any egregious fan service. It doesn't have anything crazy going on in the first 100 chapters, and it's just really, really enjoyable. It has a very cool style, like rule of cool over substance kind of vibe to it, that is really accessible to a lot of people. Now, I hope that you guys don't take this the wrong way because I said style over substance, because it is what it is. I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm saying it's a good thing. I think it's a very appealing thing to kind of discuss. So I really liked Bleach. I really had a fun time with it, and I can't wait to read more. I do know that the Aaron Carr saga is very long. It's about 200 and something chapters, which is pretty comparable to the Soul Society. So I don't think I'm going to read 200 more chapters of Bleach right now, but I might read a little bit of the Arrancar saga here and there in the next month. I'm not too sure. But other than that, I did finish reading the Red Ribbon Saga of Dragon Ball, which was a lot better. It finally kind of starts going away from the gag manga aspect, and it's getting more into the serious battle shonen kind of thing that it does eventually evolve into. There was one thing that I didn't like about the Red Ribbon Saga, and that is that during one of the arcs, the second half of the arc, which is only like 10 chapters, ends up being like half of that ends up being this like ridiculous, weird crossover with Dr. Slump, which is another series by Akira Toriyama, which he is completely, in his rights to do. However, it's really weird to just take this this detour to Dr. Slumpland in the middle of your action series manga where you're trying to fight this evil, like basically Nazi type character, right? And it's really annoying. I really was annoyed with that situation, with that detour during my reading, and I am still annoyed by it, but it is not really that big of a deal. I would really like to see an Akira Toriyama like crossover manga similar to Mashima Heroes. I think that would be really fun. But I really didn't like it in my Dragon Ball. You should keep your Dr. Slump out of my Dragon Ball. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those really ridiculous, like, over-the-top, just emotional reactions that I can't control, and it is what it is. And it really annoyed me. Everything else about it was great. The ending was awesome, and I can't wait to get into the next saga of Dragon Ball, which I might do next month because it's not that long. So, yeah, other than that, I read Elder Sister Like 1, Volume 1. It was really, really good. I love Ida Pochi's artwork a lot. It's really, really enjoyable. It's really, really fun. And her character designs are amazing. So, I liked it. It's not really that great of a story. It's a very simple, like, supernatural slice of life kind of story with some darker, kind of depressive elements hidden in the background, which is pretty par for the course for Japanese, media. So, it was pretty good. Also read Happiness #1. This is a Shuzo Oshimi work. It's a vampire story, and it's a pretty simple, basic vampire story, but it does have that Oshimi twist, that like sexual awakening plus like weird situations plus like slightly masochistic main character plus like sadistic weird girl kind of thing, which is very classic Shuzo Oshimi, and I do like it. However, the fact that Shuzo Oshimi's works are so dialogue empty, they don't really have too much going on. A lot of it is mostly just the artwork and the facial expressions and stuff like that. Makes it really hard for me to justify single volumes of it in physical format, right? So unless I get a really good deal someday on Happiness, I do think I'm going to stick to digital only for it. The only Shuzo Oshimi series that I'm probably going to collect physically at all is Flowers of Evil, because I have the first volume, and it was definitely worth the price for 3 volumes, right? But each single volume at $12 or $13 each is just not really justifiable for me, because the enjoyment is there, but the time isn't, right? Like, I can enjoy a single volume of Happiness, but it, like, the $12 I spent on it are not worth the $15 I spent, or the 15 minutes I spent reading it, right? Even though I liked it, it just doesn't work for me. Where other manga I can spend 20, 30, 40 minutes on a single volume, and then $12 doesn't seem so egregious, right? So it's a weird thing. Probably most people don't think of buying manga like that, but for me it works like that. I can't really buy Hero Oku singles either because of the same reason. It's cool, I really enjoy them, but the amount of dialogue is so low that I really don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth when I read their manga, even though I enjoy it. So I can't really justify buying single volumes of it. Omnibuses are definitely much more, justifiable, but single volumes are not the thing. I can't really justify them. There's 2 other digital manga that I didn't read, which are Devil's Line. I really should have focused on Devil's Line first, but I do think I'm going to read it in November, because this is the last set of digital manga that I have left over from previous years. Everything else I have in my Bookwalker collection is all from this year, and I do want to really get rid of all of the old stuff and kind of finally check it off my list, because I really dislike having bought something and not reading it, and just having it like eternally judging me when I browse in my Bookwalker library. So I definitely want to read that. And I also didn't read Ajit Demi-Human, but again, this one I bought this year, so I'm not really in a rush to read it. I'll probably leave it for some other month, probably into next year. So yeah, Devil's Line is one that I missed that I really wish I hadn't missed. Other than that, let's move into the physical manga. So give me a second to grab it, and then we can get started. Okay, so let's start off with the first thing I read this month, which was Solo Leveling number 5. I really like this manga, or this manga actually, this Korean comic. But man, the pacing is so slow. Like, I like it. I think it actually works well within the pacing of the comic book itself. But I know how the story goes. I know the pacing of the story. And the novels just feel way quicker. And this feels so slow in comparison. I like it. I'm still going to be collecting both. As long as my local Walmart keeps selling these at reduced price. Because $20 for any manga is just expensive unless it's an omnibus. This is not an omnibus, so it's still expensive. But I can get it for like $14 to $15 at my local Walmart. So that makes it a lot more justifiable. That basically is a normal volume of manga. So yeah, as long as they keep selling these volumes, I will continue to buy them. If they don't, I don't know that I will continue to buy them. I'm not sure, because the light novel is just significantly better at providing more for more bang for my buck, basically. But Solo Leveling is such a good series. I definitely recommend it if you guys are interested. If you're trying to get people into comics of any kind, I do think Solo Leveling is a good one to get people into. So definitely recommend that as it is. So yeah, this volume basically deals with the reawakening aspect of the story, where Jinwoo finally decides that it's time to stop hiding his prowess, and finally goes in to get reevaluated. It turns out that he's, ridiculously overpowered, so he is given an S rank because there's no other way to rank him, right? So he gets given an S rank, and he's just mucking around doing random shit while he has an S rank title, and eventually he does come across the girl that is interested in him. She's also an S-rank hunter, and she has this weird sense of smell thing where every hunter smells bad, except for Jinwoo, because he's technically not a hunter. So it's good. I'm really excited about that. And then it finally actually drops hints about the major story arc that's coming up, which is the Ant Island story arc, which I'm really excited that I got to experience through the light novel and anime and manga, because I know that the Solo Leveling anime is going to come out here soon in the next year or so. But because it is being made in Japan, the source material is being changed so that Japan doesn't look like a villain. Because in Solo Leveling, Japan is a pretty villainistic force in the story, right? They're part of the reason why this ant monster managed to escape into the world. They're also the reason for a large massacre of hunters that happens on this island in a later plot point. And so Japan doesn't really want this to be a thing, so they're changing the story of Solo Leveling. And I think even in Japan, when you buy volumes of Solo Leveling, they are with this different edited storyline, right? So I do think it's going to be an interesting thing when we see it in English, when it gets sent over to the American market, because it's going to be really weird for people that have read it and they're trying to watch this anime, and it's going to just not be the source material. So yeah, that's kind of exciting and probably very horrible. So yeah, moving on though. Sword Guy did our first impressions review on it, so if you want to look at all the goodies that this book comes with, go check out that video. There's a lot of interesting stuff that comes with it, because this is one of the launch titles for this small Mexican manga company called Manga Line Mexico. So they had a bunch of little gifts and knickknacks and things that they gave out, and I do show them off in the first impressions review. There's also an anime for this that you can watch on Netflix. It's kind of one of these OVA, like online animated kind of things that's kind of like similar to the anime for Ultraman that's on Netflix. So it's one of these CGI type things, but it's good. It's an interesting story. It's also very kind of Bleach-esque, which a lot of things are nowadays. For some reason, out of the big three, Bleach seems to be the one that has most propagated throughout the people. And I think it is because that substance over style thing that is just so exciting and so interesting. And also because urban fantasy monster hunting is pretty simple and pretty easy to do. It doesn't really require you to have very good world building or anything like that. So yeah, We have Okuni-chan. This is a parody of Sailor Moon and magical girls in general. And this one was weird. I kind of liked it, but I also didn't really like it as much as I thought. But because it's only a 4-volume series, I will definitely continue to buy it because I have already bought the second one. It hasn't come out yet, but there's only 2 more after that, so I might just buy all of them. And this is also the Manga line launch title, so I want to support them as best as I can. And buying for $5 manga is really not that big of a deal. I'm willing to do it. So yeah, there we go. Dora on Okuni-chan. It's just a very weird parody of magical girls, and it's kind of fun. You guys should check it out if you guys can find it online, although I don't really think it's possible. We have Gunbird Sisters. Lesbian vampire hunters are very exciting and very cool and very interesting, and this is halfway done with the series, so that's really good. I like short series that have a lot of interesting stuff in them. This one is definitely interesting, and the best part in this book is actually that there's a date scene or a date plot point, a date chapter where Dorothy and Maria do go on a date, and I think it's really, really good. It was my favorite part of the volume, and the ending was pretty shitty because Dorothy's like, oh, I don't really care about this dog, this tool that I have, and I do think that she's lying about that, but it was a really interesting kind of plot twist that I didn't see coming. But it's not really a plot twist because she always talks about it like that, but she's very harsh about it in this one. And it was because she was referring to Maria, she was talking about Maria to someone else, and so I do think it was trying to protect her. But I really like that scene, and I really like that part of the story. So overall, really enjoying Gunbird Sisters. If you like lesbians, if you like vampire hunters, definitely check it out. It's basically a very ecchi urban fantasy vampire hunting story with a lot of Yuri, so it's good. Chain Soldiers #1, really good stuff. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really fun. The character designs are outstanding. The story is actually a lot better than you would think. It's not just ecchi, although the mangaka does take the time to tell you very thoroughly, this is an erotic manga. The main point is to be erotic, and other than that, everything else is also because I want to do it or because he wants to do it. And it's just him having fun and him enjoying this action series. And it's really cool. I really enjoyed the author's notes in the back where he goes through each chapter and he tries to explain to you why he's doing the things that he's doing. And they're really, really interesting. I like them a lot. I think it's really, really cool. The story is fun. It's basically, there's this situation that occurred. This portal opened, and in this portal, inside this portal, there's this demon dimension, and there's these peach trees that give off fruit. These fruits are only consumed by women, or can only be consumed by women, and it grants them extraordinary powers. This actually caused the power dynamic between the genders to shift significantly towards women's side, and men are basically treated as chattel, as slaves, as housewives, as whatever you want to call that, the situation, right? And they really have nothing, no prospects, because the world has become, has changed to turn around this paradigm shift, this portal system and these peaches, right? And so men are basically not important to society in any meaningful way. And we follow a male character who stumbles across this portal into the other world, and he's helped out by the 7th Defense Squad, and specifically their leader, Kyoka, who's on this cover, and she takes him to be her slave because that is her power, and she actually manages to turn him into some sort of magical beast, and she uses him to fight, and he is happy with that because he always wanted to be a hero, but his society, the way that things work, didn't let him do that, and now he can. But also, it's really weird, and it's interesting, and it's just odd, but it's really, really enjoyable in a really weird way, and I like it a lot. I think it's really, really good. There's a lot of fetishes in it that I don't personally find enjoyable, but the situations are still there in a way that is appealing and funny, even if it's not something that I really like fetish-wise. So I think it's fun and interesting, and I definitely recommend you guys read it if you're willing to sit through a lot of erotic, ecchi kind of stuff. So, yeah. We have Shaman King. These are the Mexican omnibuses. Here's omnibus #2, which collects 3 and 4, and omnibus 3, which collects 5 and 6. So, yeah, this gets right into the middle of the Tokyo fight, or the Tokyo Shaman fight, and it's really good stuff. I'm really, really enjoying it. This does feel like it's part of the lineage of certain manga. So, I was thinking about this recently, especially because I've been also reading Yu Yu Hakusho. Let's do 4, 5. I love Blonde Botan. She's so great. And 6. So I was thinking about this like lineage of manga, right? Everyone can kind of more or less say Dragon Ball leads into the big three, specifically Naruto and One Piece. And then Naruto and One Piece lead into, more current manga like My Hero Academia and Black Clover, right? And I was thinking about this like lineage of manga, and I was thinking that, I don't know where some of these come from. But then as I was reading Yu Yu Hakusho, I realized Yu Yu Hakusho leads into Bleach, and Saint Seiya leads into Yu Yu Hakusho. A lot of the things, the way the powers work in Yu Yu Hakusho, the way that things are even, drawn, are very, 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 very reminiscent of Saint Seiya. There's these attacks that basically are Saint Seiya attacks. Like Saint Seiya uses this thing called Meteor Punch, which is drawn with him punching one time and then has a bunch of dots all over the place. Yusuke Urameshi has an attack just like that. I don't remember the name of it. I think it's like ray gun, like the spirit shotgun or something like that, or the spirit Gatling gun. I don't remember exactly which one it is. And then Kurama is basically the same as Shun. They have the same kind of vibe. They have the same color design. They have the same kind of whip thing, and they're also the masculine character that has very feminine, emotional traits that all of the other male characters lack, right? And then we have the kind of quiet, badass guy, which is either Shiryu or Iki, depending on what your preferences are, which are seen very directly in Kazuma and Hei. So it's really good stuff. Of course, a lot of Yu Yu Hakusho also inspires Naruto later on. I mean, Hei and Sasuke are basically the same character as well. And then, Yu Yu Hakusho leads into Bleach. And also, Yu Yu Hakusho more or less leads directly into Shaman King. A lot of the way that things work here in Shaman King are very similar to Yu Yu Hakusho. And I like that a lot. I think this lineage of manga is not really a thing. It's just me noticing, hey, this mangaka took inspiration from this other manga. And it just happens that they like linearly correlate to each other, right? So I think it's cool, but it doesn't really mean anything. It's just something I noticed I found interesting. So yeah, Shaman King, right in the middle of the Tokyo fight. It's really good. I hate Faust so much, but Horo was really fun. I like that character a lot. Then we have Yu Yu Hakusho, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I like Yu Yu Hakusho, but I don't really get why everyone and their mother like sings praises to Yu Yu Hakusho, to the high heavens on manga Twitter. So everyone kind of loves Yu Yu Hakusho on manga Twitter. I don't know if it's like because the story's actually good and I just haven't gotten to the part where everyone kind of falls in love with it, or if it's one of those like nostalgia plus word of mouth plus the anime was really good for its time, plus like just not that many people have actually read the manga but jumped on the hype train anyways. And I don't know. I don't think it really matters. I just think it's interesting that it doesn't really hit the same way that I was expecting it to based on how everyone's talking about it. But I do find a lot of enjoyment in it, even though it's not really my favorite. Like, out of all of the Shonen Jump manga that I've read, it doesn't really rank in the top, but it doesn't really rank at the bottom either. It's definitely not a Saint Seiya, One Piece, Naruto type thing, but it is maybe comparable to Bleach to some extent, like in my personal rankings. I don't know. It's not like I really have a list of rankings for all of my Shonen Jump manga at all. But like, I think of the enjoyment level, and it's really not as high as I would think based on how people talk about it on Twitter. But it's really not that low. Like, I will continue to read it, and I will definitely collect all of it, at least because I love these editions from Mexico. But I do like the story quite a bit. It's just not as exciting as you would think because the first saga, the Spirit Detective saga, is more or less a gag kind of like monster of the week type thing. It does have like small little arcs here and there, but it is not really like super in-depth or super like, crazy. And then the Dark Tournament is definitely a more classic battle shonen kind of thing. But the fights end really fast. They're not really drawn out. They're not really like able to give you that super like deep, like emotional, like oomph to it. that even Bleach manages to do, even if we almost get no exposition at all ever in Bleach. So I don't know. I don't know why it is that I feel that way. I just find it interesting. But I do want to continue collecting it. I do want to finish reading the Dark Tournament saga and read the other 2 sagas that are left over. So yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho is interesting stuff. I just have weird feelings about it. And then the last thing I've read this month is Chain Soldier #2. I bought it this month a few weeks ago, and I read it just right before recording this video, actually. And man, I love this cover. It's so good. We do finish the first arc of the story here in this volume and start the next tournament, the next arc, which is a tournament arc. And so far, it's really good. I really like the character designs, like I said, and it's just really enjoyable. And every volume so far, the first 2, have ended with a really interesting bad guy character introduction at the end that I find really satisfying. So yeah, that's all I've been reading this month. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you guys thought about anything I said in this video. I know I've said some hot takes, some weird things about certain manga, and I definitely can understand if you're angry at them. But let's try to keep it civil down in the comments and let me know what you think, and we can have a discussion about it. You can try to convince me why I'm wrong about Bleach being style over substance, or why I'm wrong about thinking that Yu Yu Hakusho is not that good, or that it's a ripoff or Saint Seiya, or whatever wrong way you want to take what I said. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. See you guys in the next video, and see you guys later.